What's up everyone, today we're diving into something that's shaking Hollywood to its core. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds might seem like the perfect couple on Instagram, but behind those witty comments and perfectly timed jokes there's a darker story that's finally coming to light. Fresh sources reveal that multiple celebrities are breaking their silence about how this power couple tried to manipulate and scam their way through Hollywood. We're not just talking about harmless pranks anymore, we're looking at a pattern of conduct that's making even their closest friends uncomfortable. Think about those viral social media exchanges everyone loves so much. Well, turns out they're not just cute couple moments, they're carefully orchestrated attempts to distract from some seriously questionable business practices, the way they've been using their public image to cover up their real actions. It's genius, but not in a good way. The really wild part, while everyone's been focused on their perfect marriage, they've been quietly burning bridges with some of Hollywood's biggest names. The Jersey Shore cast's revelation about Ryan Reynolds is just the tip of this iceberg. When Sammy and shared their experience on Watch What Happens Live, they weren't just telling a random bad celebrity encounter story, they were finally opening up about something many stars have been afraid to discuss. Multiple sources confirmed that Ryan's treatment of the reality stars wasn't just him having a bad day, it was actually a perfect example of how he acts when he thinks someone isn't important enough in Hollywood. The way he dismissed them, it's apparently his standard operating procedure with anyone he considers beneath his level. But here's what's really interesting: while Sammy tried to play it off diplomatically, other cast members who were present that day have been quietly sharing more details about what really went down. The full story of that interaction, it's making Ryan's nice guy image look like a complete fabrication. Even Andy Cohen's reaction during that interview tells us everything we need to know. The way he quickly tried to change the subject, classic damage control. Rebecca Ferguson's story about working with a nightmare co-star hits different now that we're connecting all these dots. While she never named names, industry insiders say the timeline matches perfectly with one of Ryan's projects and his conduct fits her description to a T. Remember how she described being screamed at in front of the entire crew? Sources from that set confirm it wasn't just one incident. The way this A-list actor would berate people when things weren't going his way created such a toxic environment that crew members started keeping audio records of his outbursts. What's really telling is how Blake handled these situations. Instead of calling out her husband's actions, she'd actually join in using her own star power to pressure people into staying quiet. The way they tag teamed their intimidation tactics, it's giving major power couple gone wrong vibes. Even Dwayne Johnson's supportive comment on Rebecca's post takes on new meaning when you realize he worked with Ryan and notably hasn't collaborated with him since the Deadpool drama with Marina Buren exposes a whole new level to this situation. While everyone thought she just naturally had a smaller role in the sequel, the truth is way more calculated. Sources from the production reveal Ryan systematically worked to reduce her screen time after she challenged some of his creative decisions. What's really fascinating is how they handled the premiere. Watch those red carpet videos again. Notice how Marina is kept completely separate from the main cast. That wasn't an accident. Ryan's team apparently orchestrated every photo op to minimize her presence. Multiple crew members have come forward confirming that whenever Marina would speak up about script changes or character development, Ryan would make jokes that were actually veiled threats about her future in the franchise. The way he used humor to mask his intimidation tactics, classic manipulation. Even Hugh Jackman, who's usually Ryan's biggest supporter, was noticed keeping his distance during certain press events, the way he'd carefully avoid any questions about on-set dynamics. That silence speaks volumes. Let's talk about T.J. Miller's revelations, because they paint a picture of something way more systematic. When he said he'd never work with Ryan again, even for double the money, industry insiders knew this wasn't just typical Hollywood drama. Sources from the Deadpool set confirmed T.J. wasn't exaggerating about Ryan's need to constantly remind everyone he's the bigger star. Those improvised scenes where Ryan would repeatedly cut T.J. off, they weren't in the script, they were calculated moves to undermine another actor's performance. The unedited footage from these scenes will make every actor in Hollywood furious. But here's where Blake comes into the picture. Instead of calming these situations, she'd actually encourage Ryan's conduct by praising his creative control over scenes. The way she'd validate his power plays while visiting set, it created an environment where nobody felt safe speaking up. Even the film's original director Tim Miller didn't just leave over creative differences. He left because the couple's manipulation tactics made it impossible to actually direct the movie when a director would rather walk away from a successful franchise than deal with your antics. That says everything. The way they handled Scarlett Johansson during and after her marriage to Ryan reveals their true pattern. While everyone focused on the amicable divorce narrative, sources close to Scarlett say the reality was far more disturbing. Fresh evidence shows how Ryan and Blake actually started their relationship while he was still married, but that's not even the worst part. The way they systematically worked to control the narrative about Scarlett's career success during her marriage to Ryan, pure calculated manipulation. Remember those passive-aggressive jealousy comments Scarlett made? She wasn't just talking about relationship issues, she was referring to how Ryan would try to undermine her Marvel success behind the scenes. Every time she'd book a major role, he'd somehow make it about him feeling overshadowed. What's really telling is how Blake jumped right into this dynamic, helping Ryan craft a public image that painted Scarlett as the career-obsessed wife who neglected her marriage. The way they add their social media presence to subtly reshape public perception, it's like watching a masterclass. And gaslighting, the business side of their manipulation tactics, is where things get really interesting. Multiple small business owners have come forward with stories about how Blake and Ryan tried to get free services in exchange for exposure, but we're not talking about small favors here. Sources reveal they'd approach companies right before major events or film premieres, promising social media mentions that would change their lives. But here's the catch: once these businesses provided thousands in free products or services, the promised promotion would mysteriously never materialize. The stack of unpaid invoices from small businesses will make you question everything about this couple. When wedding planners spilled how they demanded an entire event's worth of samples and planning hours, claiming it was for their vow renewal. After getting everything they wanted, they ghosted the company completely. But they didn't just disappear, they actually used those ideas for a paid partnership with a larger corporation. Even their aviation gin promotion tactics raise eyebrows. Remember those spontaneous gin mentions during serious film interviews? Turns out they were pressuring journalists to include gin questions, threatening to cut interviews short if they didn't comply. The film industry's reaction to their conduct is finally starting to surface. Quentin Tarantino's refusal to work with Ryan isn't just about artistic differences, it's about what he's heard from other directors about the couple's onset demands and manipulation tactics. Multiple sources confirm that when Tarantino said Ryan's just making forgettable Netflix movies, he wasn't just criticizing the quality, he was pointing out how the couple has burned so many bridges in traditional Hollywood that streaming services are their only option now. Take that Stoned Alone disaster with Chris Columbus. The Home Alone director didn't just reject Ryan's idea, he was actually responding to how they tried to pressure him through back channels and social media manipulation. The way they attempted to force his hand by leaking the concept, it backfired spectacularly. Even Gerard Butler's comment about not watching Ryan's movies wasn't just shade, it was a subtle industry signal. When established acts start publicly distancing themselves from you, it's usually because they know something the public doesn't. The way they handle their charity work exposes another layer of their manipulation. While they're quick to publicize their donation sources from multiple nonprofits, reveal how they use these organizations for PR cleanup. Whenever negative stories are about to break, industry insiders say they've got a whole system in place. Whenever they catch wind of someone about to expose their conduct, they suddenly announce a major charitable initiative. But here's what makes it questionable: these donations often come with strict conditions about how the charity has to praise them publicly. Multiple organization leaders have come forward about how the couple demands specific social media posts, timed press releases, and even script approval for any public statements about their involvement. One charity worker described it as being held hostage by their PR machine. What's really telling is how these charitable announcements perfectly align with times when negative stories were about to surface. That recent Children's Hospital donation, it mysteriously happened right before T.J. Miller's interview was scheduled to air. Their social media strategy deserves its own chapter in the manipulation handbook. While everyone loves their witty exchanges, marketing experts say these interactions are actually carefully crafted by a team of writers timed specifically to distract from brewing controversy. Sources from their digital team reveal that every seemingly spontaneous comment is planned days in advance. Those cute AR errands about who posted the better photo, they're strategically scheduled to drop when whenever negative press is about to surface. What's really fascinating is how they use their online presence to control narratives whenever someone in Hollywood is about to speak out about their experiences with a couple. Suddenly their social media fills with relatable content that makes any criticism seem petty, even their famous friends to get tired of being used as props in this game. Notice how certain A-listers who used to regularly engage with their posts have gone suspiciously quiet. That's not a coincidence. They're quietly distancing themselves from what one insider called the most calculated couple in Hollywood. The way they handle film promotions reveals another level of their manipulation tactics. Remember those Aviation Gen interviews during a simple favor? Press sources say Blake would actually threaten to walk out of interviews if journalists didn't ask about Ryan's brand. Multiple reporters have come forward about how uncomfortable these situations made them feel. They'd be trying to discuss serious film themes, and suddenly Blake would derail everything to push Jen, making it clear that continuing the interview depended on playing along. But here's what's really telling. While they were forcing reporters to promote their products, they were simultaneously demanding that studios prevent other actors from mentioning their own business ventures during press tours. The double standard was so obvious that even veteran publicists started speaking up. Even their co-stars have started refusing to do joint interviews with them. When you've got other celebrities willing to risk contract violations just to avoid promotional appearances with you, that says everything about your conduct. The impact on their production companies tells us everything we need to know about their industry reputation. While they present themselves as successful producers, sources say most major studios now have unofficial policies about working with them. Fresh documents reveal that their demands on set have become so extreme that insurance companies are actually raising rates for any project they're involved in. We're talking about special clauses specific designed to cover potential losses from their disruptive conduct. The studio blacklist documents that just surfaced will change everything you thought about their career. Multiple production partners have come forward about how the couple tries to take over every aspect of filming, from demanding script approval on projects they're just acting in to trying to control other actors' promotional activities. Their need for control has made them liability risks. Even their own employees are starting to jump ship. Former staff members describe a toxic work environment where everything revolves around maintaining their public image regardless of who gets hurt in the process. The turnover rate at their companies, it's becoming a Hollywood joke. Let's talk about how they handle criticism, because this really shows their true colors. Whenever someone speaks out about their conduct, they don't just deny it, they launch full-scale campaigns to discredit that person's entire career. Industry insiders reveal they maintain a prevention list tracking anyone who might have negative stories about them and strategically undermining these people before they can speak out. The way they use their influence to block career opportunities for potential whistleblowers, it's giving major power abuse vibes. Multiple actors who've worked with them describe how they'd subtly threaten people's careers during friendly conversations. One source quoted Ryan saying, "It's amazing how fast doors can close in this town," during what was supposed to be a casual chat about someone's negative experience on set. Even their PR team has started having ethical concerns. Several former team members have quietly switched agencies, not wanting to be associated with what one called systematic intimidation disguised as humor. The final piece of this puzzle shows just how deep their manipulation tactics go. Their entire perfect couple image isn't just carefully crafted, it's a smokescreen for some seriously questionable business practices and professional conduct. Sources close to both their teams revealed that every aspect of their public presence is designed to build what one insider called an immunity shield, making them seem so likable that any criticism gets dismissed as jealousy or hate. But the facade is finally cracking, and from unpaid small businesses to manipulated journalists, from bullied co-stars to silenced crew members, people are starting to connect the dots. The pattern of conduct emerging shows a couple who've mastered the art of using charm to cover up control. Their recent SNL appearance difference that wasn't just bad timing with the Justin Ballon joke, it was another calculated attempt to control the narrative, but this time even their usual supporters couldn't ignore the obvious manipulation. The impact on Hollywood is becoming clear. Major directors are quietly removing them from consideration for projects. A-list actors are declining to work with them. Even brands are starting to question whether their influence is worth the behind-the-scenes drama. As more people come forward with their experiences, one thing's becoming crystal clear: the perfect couple image they've crafted is starting to crumble, revealing something much darker underneath. The question isn't if more stories will come out, it's how many more people will finally feel safe enough to speak up. The real irony: their obsession with controlling their image might be what finally destroys it, because in trying to maintain their perfect facade, they've created a pattern of conduct that's becoming impossible to ignore or excuse.